Now, you've probably been looking at me doing this kind of Marcel Marceau imitation thing. Oh, for God's sake. Yes. I'm so sorry about that. Can you hear me now? You probably all fucked off, have you, somewhere? Let's have a look. Two of you there. Martin, are you still there? Oh, for God's sake, tell me you're there. If I could show you what I have these sort of, look, that there, that's my microphone, and that needed to be plugged in, actually physically tethered to the PC, and of course I forgot to put it in. So I had this. This is the lavalier microphone. You can probably hear me tapping away there, and I know I've ruined all the magic and everything. But anyway, how are you? Brilliant. Okay, so God, look at the state of my hands. I had a good day, as I was trying to tell you before I turned the microphone on. I was out all morning, getting freezing cold, going to a meeting on my scooter in town somewhere, and then I came back and I fiddled around with the computer for a while, getting some things prepared, and then I started painting. I started again on, sorry, that painting behind me that you can see, this one, there. God, it's hard to angle your clothes. Yeah, so I started painting it again, and I kind of had, I probably told you before that it takes me a while to figure out what the story of a painting is. So I don't go in to a painting necessarily knowing what is going to, you know, how it's going to turn out. And often the story, if I do begin with one, it changes. And so I kind of started painting on this thing again, and I started. I changed it, and as soon as I changed it, the story came to mind of which I should be telling. So I kind of, that's always a bit of a breakthrough for me when something like that happens, and so I'm kind of pleased with myself. At least now I've got a direction, but you know, very typically the direction comes only if I start doing the work, and that's been there for months. Just Stan, you've probably seen it sort of other weeks. So I've changed it and made it more dramatic, and it's telling a completely different story from the one that I began with. So that's the way it works for me. So that's good. And also, I was talking to a friend of mine. In fact, it's a former student, used to come to the classes, but he's a filmmaker, and he was just telling me about people he's met in the art world. And he told me a kind of quite a revealing story about how art works at the very top end of the scale, and it surprised me. And it's hard to sort of it's hard to think in the way that people at that kind of level do. We talk about the billionaire level, and prices are never discussed. And I thought, so I asked him, so at what point then do people present the price to the client? He says they don't. I thought, well, how are they supposed to know? He says they don't, and they get the painting, you know, they choose the painting, and then they get given a bill, and the money is immaterial, apparently. So I mean, it's not what the way I was working at all, and I think most people are like me. They don't think like that, and it made me. I used to have prices on my website. I came home and I took them off. I mean, not that I'm going to be sort of, you know, suddenly sort of launched into the world of billionaires and the stratosphere of art, but I just thought, well, there's a logic to it. If you put your prices next to your work all the time, you can never move from them. Anyway, that's that was a kind of a conversation I had during the week. And that's the art world is completely illogical in that sense. It's not like selling widgets or any other kind of business. It's its own thing. No wonder, you know, they have to make special provisions, you know, taxation for artists. The whole thing is a complete free-for-all. You know, we have the tax exemption in Ireland. It's a tax exemption up to a certain amount. It used to be unlimited, but it's become more and more limited as time has gone on, and the bean counters have got involved in government, and they do get involved. And also, it's only for certain parts of your work. So, for example, teaching obviously is taxable, and you know, unlimited prints are taxable, but limited prints are not. You know, so they're considered fine art. Yeah, so there's all those kind of things. I'm looking a little bit pale in there. All right, okay, so let's get on with the work in hand. Are you all ready for this? Is there, hang on, let me see. I always go to the thing there. Oh, maybe you dropped out. Okay, so, all right, so I'm going to start again. Are you still there, Martin? If you are, just drop me a line, or drop me a chat or whatever. Okay, so let me get on to what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint with the printer's colours. Okay, so I'll show you the ones that I'm going to paint with, all right? So a few of them are the regular colours because they're close to what you need anyway. They're close to what you know the printer's colours are anyway in the palette that I use. But first of all, I'm going to use titanium white, okay? So in printing, obviously, you don't get white ink. The white comes from the paper. And there's a couple of things to bear in mind about what I'm going to do. So here we go. Let me see. Yes. So cadmium yellow pale hue. It's quite close to what they call process yellow. Process yellow. The printer's colours. Oh, good. Nice to see you, Martin. So the process colours, right? The four colours that printers use, like trade printers, you know, that print all the magazines that you see in the newspapers, or even your inkjet printer, they all use the same colours. The white comes from the paper, so the process yellow is very much like the cadmium yellow pale hue, but for probably one difference, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So cadmium yellow pale hue, ivory black instead of process black. Okay, so you know, black. It's process black is probably a weak enough black. And ivory black is the kind of the weakest of the blacks anyway. So that now, but the two other colours are this one here. If I put it out there, it's cyan. Now it's not sort of focusing very well, so I'll read it to you. This is called Laser Cyan. This is in the Schminke range. Schminke is just a German brand of paint. It's good paint. It's excellent paint, in fact. So Laser Cyan, I'm not sure what the Lasur means, Lasur, but cyan, okay? That's the one that I found. And this one is magenta. It's Schminke again. And so it's just plain magenta. And those are the two colours that are different particularly different in the printer's colours. So I'm banking on the cyan being the same as process cyan. I think it probably is. I kind of checked it out and it looked to be like printer cyan. The thing about four color printing is that the actual inks are transparent, you know, because they need to have the paper reflecting through the ink, okay, and that gives you those, you know, the tints, the kind of, you know, the pastel and pale colors. Now, cadmium yellow pale hue is opaque. I think, yes, ivory black is opaque. And let me see what these say. Hey Miles, how are you doing? I'm just explaining the colours. You can go back to the beginning of the video you know, after it's finished and just see what I was saying. This magenta is semi-transparent. Okay, and the cyan is transparent. So I suppose it's a bit hit and miss. Like it's not going to be exactly the same as printing. And you know, in four color printing, every magazine you get, the colors look spot on. Okay, so it's the best way of reproducing, you know, a wide gamut of colors that are naturalistic. Okay, so I'm not sure how these are going to work. So this is going to be a surprise for me, and you know, I'm operating here without a safety net, and we'll see how it goes. But the point is, you'll still get a painting, you know, even if it doesn't actually match the reference exactly. And then, you know, then you have to ask yourself, well, do I want to make a naturalistic painting? I might want to do something else. But look, this is an experiment. So that's it. There's 5 tubes of paint. All right, so let me go on. Yes, I hope you will. Yes, take a seat. All right, so let me have a look. And I really do thoroughly recommend to you, if you haven't done it, is to limit your palette. Change up your palettes and make things purposefully difficult for yourself. So instead of a yellow, sometimes you put in a yellow ochre. Instead of a red, use an oxide, red oxide or something like that. Just so that you get experience of it, and it changes the nature of your painting. It has to. It's a good idea to do that. It's not a good idea to paint with the same palette all the time. Right, okay, so let me have a look. Let me go to the palette. Right, here we go. Put it there. Let's make sure I've got my... So white there, I'm going to put out the yellow next to it. So I'm going to kind of conform to, where the colours go usually on my palette. Because that helps speed up the process of painting, doesn't it? If you know where everything is every time you paint. So the magenta's in place of the red, so the magenta can go where the red goes. And look at that. Look at the colour of that. And that's actually not a bad reproduction of the pink that it actually is. I'm just looking at the screen here, and here's the cyan. Okay. And here's the black. I'm not going to use much black. Okay, so there. Oh, hopefully. Right, so let me get a bit of paper, actually, because it would be interesting to see if I can get a nice bit of white paper. Grab something off of here. Oh, God, I don't know. Use my receipts. Here, this one will do. Right, so if I just stick a bit of paper here. It's one of my old scripts. So I just want to sort of give myself a palette knife. I just want to grab that across there, just not too much. See how pink that is? All right, and now let's get the cyan. It's a kind of a quite a light, quite mid-toned blue, and it's to me it seems to be sort of veering towards green. Okay, but if you want a nice deep blue, you just mix it with the magenta, and you get a deep blue, like an ultramarine blue. And if you grab some yellow and put the magenta with it, you get a colour that looks very much like a cadmium red. I think that's amazing from those colours. It's not at all what you expect. And when I first joined the printing game as an apprentice, I just kind of immediately thought, bloody hell, they're calling this red. How the hell is that red? But it's just that you mix a bit of yellow into it. Yeah. So that's how the 4-colour process works. So, all right. So let me see. Is that in? Yes, that is in focus, isn't it? Right. So let me grab the reference. Am I putting in the reference? Yeah, that's the reference there. And here we go. Ah, that's it. Looks a bit red, doesn't it, there? I don't want to sort of go all sort of strange with the colours. Let me have a look at the... I've got a colour control panel that I just want to sort of have a look at before I go ahead. Can I do this off the cuff like this? No, I better not. I'll just bollocks it up if I do that. Let me just go control 1, 2, and 3. Looks quite dark, doesn't it? Purplish. No, I'm going to have to do something with that. Just give me a moment. All right, it's going to give me a moment to go to the palette, canvas. It looks a bit too red for me, so I'm just going to... This is always a problem with this colour white balance. Here we go. No, get off of there. Is that better? Canvas. Canvas, canvas, canvas. Where are you? White balance. That's too blue. That looks better. Looks better to me anyway. So I'm going to save that. Okay. I say okay. That looks better to me. Right, so let's grab my brush. And you'll notice I've got no earth colour on here either. I've got no, how would you say, burnt sienna. Let me grab that. So I'm going to make up my own version of burnt sienna using the processed colours. So red and yellow makes a warm red. A little bit of cyan. Gosh, that's very, very, very strong, the cyan. I need to be careful about the strength of that paint. Cyan seems to be a lot stronger than the other ones, even though they're the same brand. Okay. So that looks like a kind of a good analogue of burnt sienna. Maybe a little bit more in yellow into it. That's for my wash. The other thing about sort of maybe using the process colours is you might get used to it, and it might give you a you know, a really good way of achieving a huge gamut of colours with just a few daubs of paint. But on the shadow side of that is that can get boring. It can be boring just painting realistic colours all the time. Right, so let me just put a bit of course, that really is strong, isn't it? That cyan. The cyan is Mussini, Sminker Mussini, and the magenta is Norma Professional. So I don't know what their you know, the way they brand their paints. It's odd, but so I just I couldn't find. I think I couldn't find magenta in the Mussini, so I had to buy them. And I couldn't find cyan in the Norma, so I had to kind of just make a decision and buy the ones that I could get. Right. So let me have a look. Let's do a bit of measuring first, because it's almost, with the tail of that onion, it's almost square. So I'm kind of limited by that. I'll make it slightly taller. There, something like that. Give myself a little box to work with. It should all fit in that box. So, in fact, conveniently, that little bottle is down there. Maybe it's bigger than that. It's actually, the bottle goes almost halfway. Yeah, not quite to halfway, so it's actually over here somewhere. Okay, the onion. Put the bunion there, and then up there like that. Does the little blue bottle come to halfway up? It comes to almost halfway up, so the little bottle comes to about there. Yeah, there like that, and then that's the bottle. There, onion. There. The other bottle behind, I got that in a charity shop during the week, comes to about there. And it emanates out of the middle of the bottle there. Then there's a neck. And then there's that lip there. And then we've got this straggly tail of onion skin. Out there. And that joins the lip of the blue bottle there. And then we've got shadow there, and this shadow is being cast off to the side there. I've got a directional light just top left. Okay, and then we've got yellow coming to there, pink there. I chose those colours, bright colours, to see how I could match them. Shadow coming off there like that, and then a horizon in the middle of the onion, something like that. Okay, and then we've got a refraction of that pink, or that kind of joint between the yellow and the pink backgrounds coming through there like that. Can you hear my fire going? And then there's a big shadow there. That's it. That'll do. And then the rest of that is blue. It looks a little bit over to the right to me, but that really is because of this here. So I'll extend that over. I just need a bit of balance in the painting. Make the onion heavier on that side. Right, I'm going to start off with the darks. Ivor, how are you? So the darks are going to be made from blue, magenta, and yellow, possibly with a little black into it. Just a bit of yellow, a bit more blue, a bit more red, and then a bit of black. Black in printing, you know, when you actually separate out the colours, we used to separate them out into 4 bits of film, you know, sort of, so the image was broken down into the bits that kind of have yellow, bits that have cyan, magenta and black. So, and the black always had hardly anything in it. So you don't use much black, so there we go. It's actually nice paint to, there's the feel of it, it's very mobile. I don't feel I need to put any solvent in or oil. There we go. And then there's a black, oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that, dark around the lip here. And in there. That looks a bit green to me. I'm going to put a bit more red into it. Okay, there's a very dark part in that onion. There. And as usual, the darks are like the bones of the painting. Everything hangs on them. I just know that when I turn on the lights above me, after this is all over, that it's going to look completely different. But it's just a painting, isn't it? Right. So, and then that is dark, and it's a bit of dark there, up there like that. That's pretty dark in there. Shadow's not too dark. I might put a bit more red and blue into that. Okay, and then down there like that. Right, next thing is I'm just going to do that blue bottle. I'd like to fill that in a little bit. So cyan, and it's a kind of a blue going over towards red. It's a reddish blue, so I'm going to put some cyan into that. Must make sure I make enough. I never make enough paint, do I? Okay, and then I can put that in there. Might just lighten that slightly with a touch of white. Okay. I mean, the colours are very bright. It is very good quality paint. And a bit there. It is blue there as well. Okay, and that dark comes around there like that. I could actually put in a little bit of dark across that shoulder as well. Right. Onion. Let's grab some magenta and yellow. And now I've got blue in the brush, and it's turning the thing that it's making it slightly brownish, which in fact I do want. So a bit more red, sorry, magenta, and a bit more yellow. Okay, that's something like it, I think. A bit more magenta. A bit more yellow too, okay. You can come up there like that, there. It needs more red and yellow, more magenta and yellow, I should say. Ah, that's better. Okay. Red there, red down there. Up there, a bit there. Now I want that shadowed part of the red, so I'm going to add some blue into that. Maybe a little black actually. Grab some of that red. Grab a bit of blue. So the shadowed side of the onion. All right. Now, I'm going to put in the yellow background. So I'm going to grab some cadmium yellow pale hue. I don't want it to be so, it's a bit sort of poisonous, the yellow. It's very cold. So I'm just going to make sure there's a little bit of magenta in it. That'll make it more be warmer. Make sure I don't. I'm going to have to be careful with that. Careful with that cyan. It's very powerful, and might have a tendency to take overbalance the other colours. Right. I'm not going to go inside that bottle yet. It's give myself a bit more yellow. Right. Oh yeah, that's better. So I can put that in there. I can shape that little tail in there. That's a lot more slender than I have it. And then that can go there. I'm still not going to do the inside of the bottle yet. I'm going to do the pink. So I'm going to grab some magenta. I'll take it over here. Some yellow, because it's a warm pink, and then some white. But it's actually warmer even than that. So more yellow into it. Okay, and I need a shadow part of it, which actually looks as if it could be made with cyan. I'm going to grab a small amount of that cyan. It's so powerful. Such a high tinting value. I think a little bit of black in there mightn't be any harm at all, and a bit more blue and a bit more magenta. Okay, so I'll put the shadow in first. In there. There. And there. Right, and now I'm going to do the rest of the thing. Clean the brush. I tried to investigate how it is they came up with with this cyan and magenta thing, and I have to say, I have to freely admit, I didn't understand the answer, and it was very involved. But I'm sure somebody will correct me or tell me. It's not the first thing you think of, is it? And indeed, the old masters, as they say, they didn't think of it either. So they just used what they could get. So for red, they would have used, maybe red oxide and burnt sienna and things like that. And for blue, blue they crushed down lapis, and a very expensive process. It did work, but it's thoroughly unscientific. But the art world loves that. The art world loves that kind of old lore, Lore kind of thing. So, the foreground, I'm going to grab some cyan and some white. Look at that for a bright colour. That's not what I want at all, so I'm going to put some magenta into it. And that will tip it towards a red blue, and then with the white it'll make it pale. That's more like it there. It's getting paler, paler, even more magenta. Gosh, I'm getting through the magenta as well. And then some more white. And then I'm going to make a dark from it. So I'm just going to start out with a little bit of black. But I'm going to add more red, more cyan. and more magenta. To get the cast shadows, it needs to be more cyan and more magenta. Okay, let's see if that does it. There's a shadow cast by the blue bottle. And then there's also a cast shadow there. Gosh, it's quite bright. And now, oh, hang on, let me put that in there as well. There's a shadow cast there. And then let's put in the foreground. That is still too bright now. More white. And actually, over here it's bluish. I mean, it is blue. Probably paler than I have it there, but I can go back into that. It's not, the difference isn't sort of so much that it's going to cause problems when I change it there. That's an incredibly bright blue. And do you know what? Changing your materials changes the nature of your paintings, all right, and it actually leads you off and think, wow, okay, I could do a whole painting like this and have it be that bright, because normally my paintings wouldn't be that bright. So add a bit more white and some yellow, because there's a yellow cast from that spotlight that I have. It's a warm cast, so I'm going to actually add some more magenta into there as well. And put that in there. Phew-wee. That's amazing. I did a painting before in the printer's colours, but it was acrylics, and it was a makey-uppy painting. You know, it was a kind of one of my narrative paintings. So it wasn't sort of trying to necessarily depict reality. So it was, and it definitely had an effect on the way the painting looked. Wasn't like it normally is with my paintings. Now, this bottle, behind this bottle. So it's green, really, isn't it? So let me grab some of that blue and see if I can make a dark version of it there. Okay. Is there anywhere where that dark is? Okay, well let's try that. That's too green, I think. So more yellow and a bit of magenta, tone that'll knock it back a bit. And then there's some white in it, I'm sure. More yellow. Okay, something like that in here. And there. And here. The light parts. I'm feeling my way forward here and across the top, that ellipse there. And you can come down there like that. And across there, up to that dark. Just put it in there and there. And then you can see the shadow of itself through the glass. And I think slightly grey, so I'm actually going to add a bit of black to that and see how that works. So now you can see that through that little gap there and down there. Right. And also you can see a bit of a dark there. Now, let me just clean that brush down, grab my smaller brush again, and as the glass comes over the left shoulder there, or the shoulder on the left, I should say, it goes much more yellow, but it's still darker than the yellow around it there. And same here. And the same up through the top there. Now, we got the pink. We can see the pink through that green glass. So if I grab some of that green glass and put it over here where the pink is, let's see if I can make up her. Now it's going to be darker than that, so I'm going to grab some of that. And put a bit more red into that. It's a bit khaki. It's this shadow, but seen through that glass there, which is, I think, it's probably what's making it look khaki. You're essentially mixing green and red, which generally makes a kind of a brownish or indeterminate colour there, through there, like that. Put that there, all the way up to that. Now, it's also reflected through the glass there. Okay. It's also, in fact, yes, now I'm noticing things more, reflected there. Next thing is there's a bright pink in a couple of places. So I'm going to mix some more magenta into that pink I made up for the background. Put that there, and across the shoulder it's quite bright there. It's also reflected here on top of the blue glass on the shoulder, and likewise, in fact, do you know what, it looks even redder when it's reflected on that, on the blue. Okay, so I've mixed some yellow into pure magenta. Put that there, and here. I think I need a smaller brush. After all, I'm painting on a 5" by 7" surface. So there. Is it here? I suppose it is a little bit. There. Okay. So back to the onion, because it's still an alla prima painting. So I want to sort of jump from one part to another part. Okay. So there's kind of a golden colour here. I think I'll make it even more golden than that. More yellow into that. There. And in certain places, around there, and up the side of some of this. There's a slightly greyish part to the onion skin as well. Be careful of that bloody lethal cyan there. It really is, has a high tinting value. Up there, that's grey. Any other greys? There's a bit of a grey there. Okay. There's a reflection, or maybe I'll sort of sculpt that onion skin tail a little. I'm glad that the yellow is opaque, because that would be, if it had been transparent, I don't think I'd have managed this at all. Up there. Like lemon yellow or some such thing. I can never understand why anyone uses lemon yellow. I'm sure it has its uses, but I haven't found any. Up there like that. that's all done. There's a bit of a yellow coming through there. Now, the onion is reflective, that skin, so it is actually reflecting what's underneath it. So I'm going to grab some of the blue, mix it with the onion, bit of white, and just up around here, it's reflecting the blue. And then there's a lovely purple. Now this is what this is good at. When you mix, like, it's hard to get a very vibrant purple from the palette that I usually use, but if you mix magenta and a bit of cyan and white, you get a really nice purple colour, the violet sort of. It does that very well. And I can see that in there as a reflection. Now back to the blue bottle. Let's do something about underneath the lip there, in there, down in the side of this bottle here, there, and down the side here. It's kind of wavy, the light has been refracted. There's a kind of a nice violety colour. Let me just find a clean bit of palette. So blue, a bit more magenta in it than elsewhere. A bit more blue, a bit more cyan, I should say. And then put that across there. And there, separate bit there. And across the neck. Where else can I use it? There. Okay. In there. Push that in. There. I'm going to grab my dark blue again that I made earlier on for the bottom top, and extend that up there, and extend that around so that it meets the other part there. That's dark. There's a dark under here, going down to meet that. There's a little dark here. Okay, and a slightly paler blue just coming down in that dark there. Okay, and I can see a little bit of the blue underneath there. Let's put that there. Now what's going on with the shoulder of that onion, where that meets the blue bottle there, and that means I can finish that bit off there. Yeah, you can go there. There's the couple of lights where we can see the, I don't know what you call it, I suppose they're the roots, aren't they? Let's make a bit of a light tan colour. I don't want to make too much of the roots, then they're not exactly, exciting to look at. Let's grab a dark here and see if I can describe some of the stuff going on over here. I think it's going to take a long time to dry this one because I'm using quite a lot of paint. It seems to go on so easily that my usual brush loads are probably too great. Interesting paint though. There's a nice dark, which is a shadow of the skin there, and there too. Any others? You're probably shouting at me at the screen. Dark in there. Now some light of those cool reds, light versions. See if I can make that redder than I have it. Perhaps something like that. I wonder will that be seen? There. There. Some very pale, almost yellow, sort of parchmenty kind of looking. Let's grab some more yellow. Over here, the crook of that bit of onion skin. A few little bits in there. Across the top of that. Ooh, let me load the brush a bit more. Okay, and then that can come up along there. Yeah. Right, back to that bottle in the background. There's a slight darkness on the edge of that, coming down there where it goes yellow, so I don't need to do anything with that. There it's darker. That's dark there. It's dark underneath that very dark part there. Hang on, let me grab a bit more. There. Bit of a dark part there. Yes, a very yellowy part where the glass is quite thin in the neck. More yellow. Which kind of is like a mantle around that dark. Okay, and then it is actually yellower in that bottle, looking through that glass here. I'm going to have to let my strokes be seen because the paint is very loose paint, so it's not like, for example, a lot of Michael Harding paint. You know, you have to almost dilute it a little bit because it's hard. It's hard to get it to move. There's so much pigment in it. Sorry, I dropped my rag. This is a lot looser. Let me grab that. I just want to push that out a little bit more, push that out a little bit more, and then put a little dark around the glass there. And I want to close this up. Okay, there. Oh, I can see a little bit of that green glass through the blue glass here. That's interesting. And a little reflection there. And a kind of a cool green reflection. Let's grab some of that green there. Put a bit of white into it. That's quite a cool green. Is that what I'm looking for? Let's have a look. I'll put it on anyway. In there. And maybe just coming down there. Right, back to the background. I want to do something. Oh, I need to put more magenta out. I'm starting to run out of magenta. When I was a lad, I was 18 when I joined my apprenticeship, and I think I had my birthday in the first couple of months, and so I was 19, and I hadn't been there very long. And the boss, when the printer was away, you know, there was an actual printing press, which is not what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be a graphic reproducer, which is a a kind of a technical process before it ever comes to print. And you know, in other words, making the plates for the printers to print from. So, but because it was an apprenticeship, I was given a kind of a bit of training on this one color printing press, Heidelberg. It's a kind of small thing, a Cord 64, it was called, and the printer was off sick. And then the boss needed to have this job done, so he said to me, Kev, you know, you know how to operate the machine. So will you print this job for me? And I, being stupid and 19, said, yeah, I'd have a go. And I just got myself into such a state with this bloody thing, and I was petrified of it. I hated it. I hated using it. I used to have to cut paper as well on the guillotine, and I hated that too. And anyway, I had to print this job, book covers it was, sort of, you know, and quite apart from bollocksing up the whole thing, which it was a terrible job that I did, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd only been on the thing about 2 weeks, and apart from that, you see, I kind of thought I'd do what the printer himself did. That, you know, he was a proper journeyman, master printer really, and he used to dab the ink on the rollers with his ink palette knife as the thing was running. So I thought I'd do the same thing, and I nearly lost my hand in the machine, and I was kind of too embarrassed to let go, because, you know, imagine if I ruined, you know, £500,000 worth of machine. And I actually managed to sort of reach around to the controls and knock the machine off, but I could have lost my hand. Bloody idiot of a boss who asked something of me that I shouldn't have been doing. It was illegal, actually. I can still feel the rollers trying to take this palette knife into the machine. It gives me palpitations. Put a nice line around there, and then I need a darker dark underneath the onion, so I'm going to add some blue into that and some black into that there. Okay, and I'll put that underneath the onion, down there. Okay. Next thing is I want to just work on the foreground a little bit, because it's not quite that blue, and I'm trying to go for accuracy here, right? Okay, that's my guiding principle, because I want to see how close you can get using these colours. That's the idea behind the whole enterprise, isn't it? Not for me to start wandering off into sort of realms of fantasy, sort of, exploring how the colours work. That's for another day. Let me put that. That's very yellow there. In fact, because this is all reflecting the yellow above it. We'll close up that shadow there. That's all reflecting the yellow above it. And this is all reflecting the pink above it. So it's all about observation, isn't it? Observation, and the other thing is to sort of what was I going to say? I was going to make a point, and then I saw a bloody comment come up, and then it distracted me. Oh yes, making a mark and correcting it. As long as your marks aren't too far away from, you know, where they should be, you know, in terms of colour or tone, usually colour, you know, as long as they're not too far away, you can come back from it. As long as you don't overwork the painting too much, and then you get mud. Okay, so I think that even could go lighter. There. Hang on, I'm looking at your Waverley. Waverley, what did you say? Had the same near-miss experience with a small carding machine, yeah, and a brush. Yeah, yeah. Oh God. And in fact, when I moved to Ireland, one of the guys that was in the first job I ever went to in Dublin, he was missing a little finger for precisely that reason. He said when it happened, he was an apprentice, and the printer ran up to him and put his arm in a half Nelson so he couldn't see it. And he said he was basically, it was like a glove, you know. He had this great big long length of skin with no bone in it. Isn't that nice? It's a man's life in the printing world. That and the fact that everyone was arsing around all the time. Right, okay. So, do you know what? I think it's time to put in some highlights, because I think that will help. First of all, not quite highlights, but some reflections I'm missing here. There's a lovely reflection of the pink on the top of that bottle, and it goes all around the back too. You can explain, Waverley, what a carding machine is, actually, because I don't really know. There. Be nice to know. Right, I'm going to grab some more yellow and work on the yellow background a bit more again. Grab some more yellow. Make sure I've got enough. So one thing I want to do is actually shape this. So shape that into position. I'm picking up some of the cyan, which is so powerful. It's just getting everywhere. I think there must be it's a pigment, sure, but I'm wondering if I think, do they call it even a pigment? Or is it a dye that's in them? Interesting. I have to find that out. Put those there like that and carve that into shape. That's all gone very green there. But sure, look, it's a painting, isn't it? And now, any other things that I need to put in before I start going towards the highlights? Maybe a little bit of reflection in there, which is reflecting this. There's a tiny bit there. There. That very bright yellowy green can come up in there a little bit. A carding machine orients the fibres the same direction. Oh, carding, I've heard of that, yeah. Prior to spinning, yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I'm not really up for all that kind of malarkey dealing with heavy machinery. Yeah, I'm a bit too absent-minded. We had a guillotine, and the guillotine was for, so you grab up, a great big load of paper, like a ream, which is paper, about almost an arm's length, arm's length by a kind of forearm's length, and 500 sheets, and you put it into this machine, and then you'd have to kind of knock it up against the back to to get it all prepared for just one nice neat cut down. So your hands would be in the machine. So your hands would be in where if the blade came down, it would get you. And I always thought that it was going to sort of just come down, just have a mind of its own and just come down on me one day. I just bloody hated working on it. So there's that. Now some nice highlights now. So I'm going to do the cool ones first, which I'm going to use cyan, white, and a bit of magenta. Make them as light as possible. Maybe make them a bit more cyan than... yeah, something like that. All right, so let's put them in. There's one in there. I could make more of that actually. Make that bigger. And then there's one on that shoulder. That'll do for the cold ones, the cool lights. Oh, yes, there is. In fact, I'm going to use the same one and reflect that here on that bottle. And there's another lighter one, or not lighter, but less obvious one here. That can go in as a nuance. And then there are the lovely golden highlights. So white plus yellow plus a bit of magenta. That's 2 magenta. Hang on, let's go back in with the yellow. Make it more golden-y colour. And then that's reflecting the spotlight there. The spotlight is reflected here as well. There. And on that shoulder next to the cool one for some reason. And then another one there. And I just want to put a kind of a light golden colour on the bunion there. Maybe put it there too. Oh yes, and there's a little nuance that I've missed so far. So I'll light a bit of pink because the light is shining through in there, and that comes down there like that. And now I want to sit the whole thing in a pool of light. So let me go back to my foreground colour. I wonder how long this paint takes to actually set it. I know that I think the Mussini, one of them has a resin in it. I think it's this one, the Mussini one, the Cyan. So maybe it sets faster than the other ones. I need a bit of dark, I think, a bit of dark in the onion skin here. Just give it a little bit of body. That there. Move that in a little bit. Ooh, I completely forgot that bit, didn't I? Well, it's hardly worth putting it in. No, I won't. I'm going to just put in a little bit of a a mid-tone there, and maybe across the top of that shoulder. That's okay there. Let me grab a little bit of that. Am I missing a... Oh, I'm missing a highlight from up there. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Again, that one there. Up there. Anything else? There's a nice little thing that I want to do on the blue bottle. Make sure there's some magenta in that blue, and then of course it keeps changing as I look at it anyway. So kind of a nice red blue there. Soften some of these. Could bring that down, couldn't I? There. Lighten that violet light on the onion. I'm not sure where that light's coming from, but yeah, it is there. And then make sure that I sculpt this into shape correctly. That could do with a little bit. I need a tiny brush actually. I'm painting tiny, so just grab some green. I'll put just in a little bit of description. Bring that out a little bit there. And put in a dark across there, which has disappeared. I think that will do for description of that part. I quite like this. I quite like it. It's interesting. Be great for doing fantasy paintings. You know, just like stuff that you make up. You know, like the one behind me, I suppose, which is it's kind of based on an area of Dublin. There's a bridge called the Huband Bridge, and that's where it's set. But the treatment of it is like a treatment of it is, you know, it's a bit of a fantasy. Right. So let me have a look. Where am I? There I am. So let me hold this up and see what that looks like on this camera. I've no idea what it looks like in proper light. Just a usual collection of dabs. Let me try. Hang on, I'll do the usual, and the palette camera seems to be quite a good one for being in focus and all that kind of stuff. Right, let's have a look. Palette. Oh God, no. Oh yeah, well, yeah, it's not in focus, is it? Let me try that control. Is it gonna? Yeah, it is. Yeah, look, it is in focus now. There, that. I think that's the best I can get out of it. There's one thing that I didn't do, and that's really it is there, but it's kind of it looks as if it shouldn't be there. So I'm going to do that. There you go. Where am I? The little gap between the top of the onion where the bottle shows through. It could be. I actually can't tell at this remove now, so it'll just have to stay where it is. Yes. if you find out, well, thank you, Barbara, Martin. If you find out and you understand what they tell you, tell us. There was one description I read. Hang on, let me go to myself. There was one thing that I kind of read, and it's what you see. Cyan and magenta are what you see if you close your eyes after looking at sort of brightly coloured objects, and you can see, I don't know how that works, but and I don't know if that's true. I mean, it could be. I just don't know, but it is amazing. Also, the other thing about it is you could check up for yourselves is that one of those colours, and I think it's cyan, doesn't occur naturally, not as a pigment anyway. So they had to kind of make a pigment up. So it's a chemical process that made that. I think. The yellow, obviously, I mean, yellow occurs in nature everywhere. Magenta, that does too, doesn't it? You get things like lichness flowers and things like that. I'm not sure where the pigment comes from though. It's one or the other. Cyan or magenta sort of it doesn't occur naturally and has to be made, which makes it even more intriguing, to be honest. Miles, where are you saying the way light shining through the glass bottle is yeah, I mean, yes, it's kind of paint what you see, isn't it? And you do see it. Every time I look at my paintings, I just see mistakes, which I think, or things that could be done better. Yeah, every time. So it doesn't matter what I paint. I always come back to it at some other time and look at it. And you miss things, and But I mean, if I wasn't teaching, I wouldn't tell anybody. Do you know what I mean? The whole point of this is just to share the what goes through my mind when I'm painting, because I think it's helpful to people. But I think you wouldn't go to somebody who was going to buy a painting and start explaining the problems with it to them, would you? Which is in fact what I used to do until I learned to shut my mouth and say, if somebody said, "Oh, that reminds me of something or other," you say, "Okay, oh yeah, how very perceptive of you." It took me years and years before I started doing that, because for some reason I was always sort of explaining things to people. It must be in my nature, but I know other people do it too, and it's no wonder people walk away from a sale when you do that to them, ruin their dreams. Yeah, so I don't do it anymore. So if you say it's a wonderful painting, that's what it bloody well is. Yeah. So do get it. I'm not sure where. I'm sure other manufacturers do cyan and magenta, but I just happen to be in our local one of our local art shops, and that was all they had. So they're not my usual brand. I like them and I could see myself using them all the time, but I wonder, are they all as sort of fluid as this? Both of them are very kind of fluid paints to use. Which, would it suit me? I don't know. It's kind of a big investment. I mean, some of them are quite expensive. Anyway, I mean, I do like the Winsor & Newton ones, the so-called professional ones. I'm very used to them. And that kind of makes it difficult to sort of use other paints. I like Sennelier as well, very much, in oils. And I've used Michael Harding paints, and I found that I had to keep putting oil into them to make them looser. I'm kind of more used to that kind of thing. Waverley, you're doing a painting for a Secret Santa at work, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, could do it in acrylics, couldn't you? Why not? It took me a long while, because I was an illustrator and I was kind of called upon years when I started out. I was a total chancer, like I didn't know anything about paints, and you know, I knew I could paint if I was put to it, but there were certain things that I didn't know which I could have used at the time. And one was painting Santa, and I used to have alizarin crimson. It was the only red on my palette. I don't know why I did that, but and every time I painted a Santa outfit, it kind of looked slightly brown, and it just didn't look right. And I thought, what the hell is everyone else using? And it took me a good while before I discovered cadmium red for some reason. I don't know why I left it so long, but anyway, yeah, it's a hard thing giving a painting, isn't it? In the as a present, as a kind of a, I suppose it's easier with Secret Santa, but I was kind of whenever I've given a painting as a present, then I've started cringing inwardly, you know, to myself. Well, what if they don't like it, you know, or they hang it in the toilet, you know, kind of shows you what they think of it. I don't know, but I always felt sort of a bit reticent about giving people paintings. So, have you any questions, preferably ones that I can answer? It was an interesting exercise. What I discovered about it is despite the fact that cyan and the processed colours. Hello, PM. How are you doing? Oh, is it? I don't know if I heard anything about that. There's some kind of story I haven't heard about. Canada becoming a state. There was actually talk when JFK visited Ireland. You know, somebody, I don't think it was ever serious. Sort of, there was sort of some talk about, you know, should we become a state of the USA? Yeah, would have been fun. Would have been like somewhere like what, Puerto Rico or something. Yes. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, about the paints. They're really quite bright. And even though printing, like when you're talking about printing in magazines and everything, it looks spot on. Everything looks just right. In paintings, it's kind of a harder prospect, I think. I kind of prefer my own palette, but it's a good thing to do. And as I say, everything doesn't have to look, exactly the way it should. We shouldn't try to be Rembrandt anyway. So, all right, Trump's been threatening to annex. Fake news. Anyway, look, have a lovely week. I think I'll call it a day because I won't be here next week anyway. So I think unless I do an impromptu one from my travels, this could be the last one of the year. So if I did another one, it would be from my phone, and it would be a different sort of prospect anyway, wouldn't it? Because I'd have balancing phones on books and things like that. It's kind of difficult. It could be a drawing one, I suppose, if I do one, but I'm not sure. So having said that, I wish you all a happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Well, I'll see you in the New Year anyway, but have a great break and just to avoid annexation by the USA. Okay, listen, have a lovely Christmas. Okay, bye guys. Stop this.